Imagine the loneliest place on Earth. A desert or the Arctic might come to mind, but at least those places see the sun. 4,000 meters down, there is no sun, no warmth, just crushing pressure, near freezing water, and a barren sea floor stretching endlessly in every direction. Some creatures here wait months between meals. Others grow to monstrous sizes just to survive. It is, by almost every measure, a wasteland. And then, something falls. From up there, from a world of light and warmth and abundance that might as well be another planet, something massive begins to sink. Slowly at first, then faster, plummeting through the dark like a comet. It takes hours to reach the bottom, sometimes days. When it finally hits the sea floor, 40 tons of flesh and bone, everything changes. Because something just arrived. Something that will feed this barren corner of the abyss for decades. A whale just died, and the deep sea is about to throw the greatest feast it's ever seen. For context, think about how the deep sea normally gets its food. The ocean surface is teeming with life. Plankton, fish, sunlight-driven photosynthesis. When those organisms die, tiny particles of organic matter slowly drift downward. Scientists call it marine snow. Microscopic flakes of dead cells, fecal matter, and decaying tissue drifting down like ash through the water column. That's it. That's the entire food supply for most of the deep ocean. A slow, thin drizzle of organic scraps from a world far above. It's barely a meal. Now imagine that instead of marine snow, a 150,000-pound blue whale just landed on your doorstep. That is what a whale fall is. A sudden, concentrated, almost incomprehensible injection of energy into a system that normally runs on fumes. One single whale carcass can deliver the equivalent of 2,000 years worth of marine snow carbon to the seafloor, all in one event. This is more than just a dead whale. This is a city being built in the dark. The remarkable thing is, it's not rare. These cities are scattered across every ocean on Earth, and they always have been. Right now, in every ocean basin on Earth, researchers estimate there are approximately 690,000 whale carcasses and skeletons on the seafloor at various stages of decomposition. The 9 largest whale species alone account for that staggering number. Blue whales, sperm whales, fin whales, humpbacks, each one, when it dies, becomes a potential whale fall. They've been documented off the coasts of California, in the waters around Antarctica, in the North Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian Ocean. Anywhere the ocean is deep enough for full decomposition to occur, roughly 1,000 meters or more, the full whale fall process can unfold. But here's where it gets even stranger. These whale falls aren't distributed randomly across the abyss. Along migration routes, the corridors whales travel every year between feeding and breeding grounds, whale falls may be spaced as little as 5 kilometers apart. Close enough, in other words, for the larvae of deep-sea creatures to drift between them, spreading life across what should be a lifeless desert. We didn't know any of this until 1987. A team of scientists led by oceanographer Craig Smith was exploring the Catalina Basin off Southern California in the research submersible Alvin, scanning the seafloor at 1,240 meters depth when they noticed something on the sonar. They moved closer. The crew thought for a moment that they were looking at a dinosaur skeleton. What they found instead was a 21-meter blue whale carcass, and it was absolutely crawling with life. That discovery launched an entirely new field of marine biology and revealed one of the most complex ecosystems scientists had ever seen operating in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. A whale fall doesn't just decompose, it transforms. It cycles through 4 distinct stages of ecological succession, each one bringing an entirely different community of organisms, each one stranger and more specialized than the last. Stage 1, the mobile scavenger stage. It starts fast. Within hours of landing on the sea floor, the first wave arrives. Sharks, hagfish, sleeper sharks, Deep-sea crabs, grenader fish, these animals can detect a food source from miles away through chemical signals diffusing through the water. During this stage, large mobile scavengers tear into the carcass with extraordinary speed. A single hagfish can consume its own body weight in food in a matter of minutes, burrowing directly into the carcass and feeding from the inside out. Sharks take whole chunks. Crabs pick at the edges. This phase can last anywhere from a few months to several years, depending on the size of the whale and the density of the scavenger community. By the end of it, up to 90% of the soft tissue can be stripped from the bones. But stripped clean doesn't mean finished. It means the next phase can begin. Stage 2, the enrichment opportunist stage. Once the large scavengers have picked the carcass down to the bones and remaining connective tissue, something interesting happens to the seafloor around it. The decomposing whale has been leaching organic compounds, fats, proteins, and fluids into the surrounding sediment. The ground itself has become enriched. Now a different community moves in. Polychaete worms, bristle worms that can range from microscopic to several feet long. Crustaceans, mollusks, dense mats of these opportunistic species colonize both the bones and the enriched sediment around them, some reaching densities of over 4,000 individuals per square foot. A patch of sea floor that was barren days ago is now one of the most densely packed communities on the planet. This stage can last months to years. The whole time, these dense communities are processing and recycling nutrients, quietly preparing the ground for what comes next, which is the phase that most completely rewrites how we think about life in the deep sea. Stage 3, the sulfophilic stage. This one takes decades. As opportunist organisms begin breaking down the fats stored within the whale's bones, and whale bones are packed with fat at up to 60% lipid content, anaerobic bacteria move in and begin consuming those lipids under conditions with little to no oxygen. And as they do, they release hydrogen sulfide, the same toxic gas that smells like rotten eggs and kills humans in enclosed spaces. In the deep sea, it becomes fuel, because sulfur-oxidizing bacteria consume that hydrogen sulfide and use the chemical energy from the reaction to build organic matter, the same way plants use sunlight to photosynthesize. This is chemosynthesis, life powered by chemistry rather than light, and the ecosystems it produces are astonishing. The whale skeleton at this stage begins to resemble a hydrothermal vent. Thick bacterial mats cover the bones. Chemosynthetic mussels and clams, the same types found living around deep-sea volcanic vents, colonize the site. Tube worms appear, limpets, snails, amphipods feeding on the bacteria, predatory invertebrates feeding on them. Up to 185 different macrofaunal species have been recorded thriving on a single whale skeleton during this phase, and it can last 10 to 50 years or more. The sulfophilic stage is what separates a whale fall from any other food bonanza in the deep sea. It goes far beyond a feast. It is the creation of a self-sustaining chemical ecosystem that operates for generations. Stage 4, the reef stage. Eventually, even the whale's bones are exhausted. The lipids are gone, the hydrogen sulfide has stopped flowing. The chemosynthetic community fades, but the whale is still there. What remains, the mineralized bones, hard, white, and durable, becomes something new, a hard substrate in an environment that almost never has hard substrate. In the deep sea, hard surfaces are prime real estate. Suspension feeders move in. Crinoids, feather stars, sponges, barnacles, animals that anchor themselves to hard surfaces and filter organic particles from the water, colonize the bones, and turn the skeleton into a reef-like structure. The whale, now stripped to its mineral skeleton, becomes a permanent fixture on the sea floor, an artificial reef in miniature, sheltering and feeding an entirely new community for decades or centuries more. Of all the organisms discovered at whale fall sites, none is more bizarre or more perfectly named than Osidax, which means bone eater in Latin. Osedacs are small worms, a few centimeters long, that were completely unknown to science until 2002, when researchers at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute discovered them on a whale fall off the California coast. They have no mouth, no stomach, no digestive system of any kind. Instead, they grow root-like structures directly into the whalebone. The roots secrete acid, which dissolves the bone, releasing the lipids inside. Symbiotic bacteria living within the roots then digest those lipids and share the nutrients with the worm. The worm eats bone without a mouth, with acid through bacteria. And here's where it becomes genuinely surreal. Almost every Osedax individual found is female. The males are microscopic, vestigial creatures, barely more than packets of sperm, living inside the females in specialized tubes. Each female contains dozens of them. They exist only to reproduce. The females do all of the bone dissolving, the eating, and the living. Osedax has now been found on whale falls across the globe, with dozens of species identified, all of them new to science, all of them exclusive to whale carcasses. Before whale falls were discovered, they didn't exist in any biology textbook. They were unknown because their entire world, the only place they live, had never been seen. Whale falls are more than islands of food in the deep sea. Some researchers believe they may have played a fundamental role in the evolution of deep sea life itself. The theory goes like this. Hydrothermal vents and cold steeps, those volcanic deep sea habitats where chemosynthetic life thrives, are rare and isolated. Life that depends on hydrogen sulfide and chemosynthesis needs to be able to move between them. But how does a clam or a tube worm travel between volcanic vents thousands of miles apart? Whale falls. Because whale falls, during their sulfophilic stage, produce hydrogen sulfide through the exact same biochemical pathway as vents and seeps. The organisms that live on whale falls, the chemosynthetic bacteria, the mussels, the clams, are often the same species or close relatives of those found at hydrothermal vents. Whale falls may be stepping stones distributed across migration routes, spaced close enough together that allow deep-sea chemosynthetic life to hop from one to the next across ocean basins. Over millions of years, as large whales evolved and their populations grew, the density of whale falls may have actually enabled the radiation and spread of entire deep-sea ecosystems. The whales' deaths funded the evolution of life in the darkest corners of the ocean.